Hey guys, cool. So summer intensives are such an awesome opportunity to learn new things and be exposed to new teachers, and they provide so much. A lot of times you're exposed to a lot of new movement or choreographers. You are potentially making connections for future jobs and things like that. So it can be a big opportunity, and it can sometimes feel stressful if that's kind of your goal around it as well. But today I want to give you some ways to hopefully move into it with a really positive mindset and some strategies that are going to help you be calm but present and successful and stay really positive about what you're doing there and what you're there to do. I will, as usual, if you've been to one of these workshops before, I'll be showing a slideshow for a lot of the time, but I'll cut back and forth between that and me talking. I have some stories I want to share about my experiences, and I think that it's a little bit more fun if I actually am looking at you when I share those stories. So we'll do that a little bit different today. And throughout, make sure that you comment in the chat box. I'll kind of cue some times when I'd love for you to share your experience. Some things are just like, yes or no, have you experienced this? And it would be great to see what your input is and what you've kind of gone through and see what the common threads are between one another and all the other dancers who come and see this workshop live and anyone who watches it later on. Yeah, so let's get into it. Here we go. Okay. So just a kind of an overview today of what we're going to cover. We'll get into some placement class strategies, how to perform at your best, what you might do to adjust more easily to a new environment, some self-care lifestyle techniques that can really help with staying balanced and staying present. And then I want to, of course, like I said, give you lots of opportunities for questions and opportunities to share as well. So if you haven't logged into the chat box, just take a second and do that. You can log in with Facebook pretty quickly. There's a couple of other platforms that they let you log in through. I used my Facebook, and I think that that works pretty easily. So give that a shot. And make sure you stay till the end. I don't know if everyone heard about this, but I am doing, oh, Joy, I'm so thrilled to have you. Welcome. I'm so excited to be doing this RubyAware giveaway for these workshops. Hi, Grace. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here. So yeah, that will be at the very, very end. I will pick the winner for this giveaway. And it's pretty exciting. I love Ashley Ellis. I as a Boston local, I get to see her dance, and her dancing is just incredible. And I just saw her as the Swan Queen. And so she's the founder and owner of RubyAware. Not pictured here. This is actually Brittany Stone, who's also a Boston ballet dancer. But for the giveaway, whoever is chosen, which I'll tell you how it's being chosen. It's kind of funny. I asked my mother if she would pop in to the webinar and pick a name and text it to me. So that's how, now you guys know that's how the winner will be chosen. My mom will be picking it. And the winner will get a pair of RubyAware leg warmers of your choice. So it's a pretty awesome prize. And if you haven't seen RubyAware leg warmers, they're amazing and beautiful, and there's tons of lovely colors to pick from. So it's a fun prize. Just a little bit more about me in case this is your first workshop with the whole dancer. I am from Long Island, and I started dancing there with the the American Theater Dance Workshop, which is the official school of the Oglevsky Ballet Company. And after that, I went to Butler University, and I studied dance and arts administration. And following that, I danced with the Louisville Ballet in Kentucky. And then I moved to the Boston area with one of my college friends, and I started freelancing, which was a very interesting and different experience, but it was really great and a good career move for me at the time. And yeah, now I'm a health coach, and I've started working with dancers because my own experience as a dancer was pretty unhealthy and not super balanced. And I wasn't always taking care of my mental state and making sure that things were going well for me as far as food went and nourishing myself. So I think it's so important for dancers to have more resources where they can learn how to balance this lifestyle, because it's definitely, there's quite a bit of pressure and it can certainly be stressful. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today, is how to manage all of those good things and really feel like you've got it under control. So what does a successful summer program look like to you? Yeah, go Boston, Joy. I love it. What are the sorts of things that you think of when you're considering, when you're getting ready to go to summer program? If you are setting goals around it, what are some things that you think of? Do you worry about the placement level, maybe workshop casting, personal attention? Or if you're a little bit older, it could be being asked to stay for the year or join the company or the second company. Oh, my summer after senior year, I went to a summer program, and the goal was to hopefully get an offer for the second company there. And to be honest, I kind of really stressed myself out about it and was in I need a job mode. And I was thinking about it from way before I even went. And I mean, I was very gung-ho and very energetic, which is great, but I sort of went overboard very quickly. And I ended up getting injured within, I think it was the first week or two. I sort of think it was the first week. And that was it. That opportunity was gone. And I went in with great intentions, but I didn't manage myself and my work in a way that was conducive to actually staying in it for the long haul and getting the job. So that's why I think I want you guys to really take in some of these things. And even if you've heard them before, I hope that they're great reminders. And yeah, I don't want the same thing to happen to you where you like go totally overboard and get injured the first week, because then the opportunity is lost and it's a major bummer, for sure. And that's me with my friend Lindsay Krupp, who now dances with Dance Theater of Harlem. That's a great thing to look for, Marissa. I like that you look for variety in teachers and locations. It's smart, because then you learn a lot. And, it's also cool to see when different programs will have similar styles, or you'll see one teacher at one program and then you'll see them again at a totally different program the year later, since teachers travel around and do different things like that. It's cool. Love it. Preparation. So of course you're going to need those supplies that they suggest that you have. Definitely bring leotards that you love, warm-ups that make you feel good, plenty of tights, be prepared with point shoes, good walking shoes. We don't always remember that, but when you're not in the studio, you still need to be taking care of your feet. Oh, Joy, isn't that the worst, that summer program experience? I know, it was really tough. Luckily, I was able to get through it, but it can really feel tragic in the moment. So back to supplies. Good walking shoes are really important. Repair supplies like needles, thread, non-perishable snacks, I think, are really important to bring. Things like trail mix. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then also really manage your expectations. You don't want to go into it, maybe a company or a program you've never seen or had any experience with before, and get totally in over your head about what you think is possible there, and then realize in the first week or two that there's no way it's going to happen. So manage your expectations and know that you really can't know fully what to expect if it's your first time working with a specific company. So keep that in mind and keep your goals realistic around that idea. Grace, if they don't have a packing list, make your own, and definitely, consider any possibility. Obviously, they'll tell you ahead of time if there's laundry, so if you have to bring clothes for the entire 4 or 6 weeks, which is kind of crazy. I think most places, when you're at a program for that long, they will have laundry. So you'll know things like that. And I mean, keep in mind too, summer intensives, it's not like a fashion show outside of the studio anyway. I think you should kind of let your focus be on the dance stuff and make sure that you're bringing all that you need for that and not worry so much about, other recreational activities, except for the good footwear, and making sure that you bring shoes that you can walk around in, because likely you'll be doing weekend things and you don't want to be in, dancers shouldn't be in flip-flops with no arch support all the time. So be smart about that. And set goals. That's a big thing for me, for dancers at any stage. You want to be setting goals so that you have specific things that you can work for on your own, regardless of what actually ends up happening with the different teachers that you're working with. You want your goals to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. One good thing is that with a summer program, you've got some bound time to work with already. If you're there for 4 or 6 weeks, you could set one specific goal that you hope to reach each week of the program. And then if you don't reach it one week, you could always add it to your goals for the next week. But be realistic about your potential progress. If you now are, working with inconsistent double pirouettes, don't plan to be hitting consistent triples by week 2. But you could always obviously start from where you are and set goals that are going to be realistic, so you'll have something that's going to keep you motivated and inspired the whole time, no matter what is happening, like I said, with the different teachers that you might be working with. Track your progress. I'd love to know if you guys want to share in the chat box. Do you usually set goals and intentions before you head off to summer intentions? Let me know what you think. If you've done it before, or maybe if you're going to do it this summer now that I've brought it to your attention, because I'd love to hear if that's a good change for you. Track your progress. I always think dancers should keep a notebook or a journal where they record what they're learning, but also record each day something that you feel is improving. By picking something every day, even if it seems small, you're going to give yourself a confidence boost that can lead to massive improvement at the end of a summer program. Oh, hi, Jennifer. Welcome. Taking classes in New York City is great. That's definitely a good way to spend your summer for sure. And you could always set specific summer goals with the different teachers you're going to be working with in the city for sure. Marissa, you keep a journal. Yes, of course. One thing each day to achieve your long-term goal. Very smart. Incremental changes are key to improving consistently and making sure that you're staying aware of the things that you still need to improve, even if it's not being brought to your attention by your teachers every day. Grace, I love it. Also write while you're there too. It helps a lot. It really does. It really does. So some placement class strategies. You want to treat it like an audition, but remember the important fact that you already got in, so it should be a lot less stressful. You don't need to worry, obviously, about making it or not. They're not going to kick you out after the placement class. So stay calm, do your best, and also remember that where you're placed in a summer program is not necessarily going to dictate your entire future as a dancer. At times it can feel that way, but in reality, if you don't get into the level you want, it doesn't necessarily mean, for one, it doesn't mean that you won't potentially be moved up later on. It doesn't mean that there's no chance for you to stay in the professional training program year round if that's your goal. So just remember that it's not a make or break situation. And the most important thing for dancers in all of their career is to remember that you are going to continue to be learning the entire time. And even if you're not in the level you want, you need to stay focused on taking everything you can from the experience. And if you feel like you're in a level that's too easy for you, even from that, you can learn a lot from taking easier classes or classes that are slower than you're used to. Grace, I love that you write down everything. I've always been that way as well, writing down everything. It's the only way it sinks in for me, though. That's part of it. Be fully present. Anytime you're feeling frustrated or like you're not getting the attention or validation that you want, remind yourself of those goals that you set. The goal shouldn't be to have every teacher love you, but because they won't, I promise. But remember that when you work your hardest each day and you're staying focused on the task at hand, you're going to reach your goals regardless of whether someone loves you or not. Take on every single correction that they give in class. There are very rare cases when corrections for a different person can't be applied at all to you, but be mindful that that can happen very occasionally. And talk to your teachers or talking to one another. So always assume that, if you are seeming low or having a bad attitude in one teacher's class because they don't happen to be paying tons of attention to you, odds are the artistic staff is going to hear about it. So even if there's someone who's not fully integrated into the company where you're taking class or the summer program, don't think that they're not going to talk to other teachers or the artistic staff. So just remember that attitude as a dancer is super important, and staying aware of how small the dance world is. You don't want to get a bad reputation. Be bold. I love this. So when I was also at this summer program, after my senior year of college, we had a choreographer who was coming and setting our piece for the workshop presentation, and we were the oldest level, so he was treating us like he would if you were choreographing on a ballet company or professional dance company. And at one point he said, "Now, what would you do next? What movement do you think would fit here next?" And it wasn't classical ballet. He was definitely being neoclassical and thinking outside of the box, but there was a theme to it. So from my college experience and being in lots of situations where my teachers and professors were telling us, you have to be bold, you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone, and getting lots of those reminders, I was willing to do that. And I did a move. It was funny and whatever, but he liked it. And he actually made the point of saying, it's clear that Jess has been working with other choreographers and has had a lot of exposure because you were just standing here. So it's important. I want you to be bold and empowered. And let me be honest, I'm not generally always the most bold person. And that was slightly out of characteristic. But as I said earlier, I was in I need a job mode, and I was willing to do whatever it was going to take. So I got out of my comfort zone. And I want to really empower you all to do that, because especially at a summer program, and I'll touch on this a bit later as well, you're in a new environment and they don't know you. And even if your teachers at home say things like, "Oh, you're so shy and you're so quiet," it doesn't mean that you can decide, well, this summer at this summer program, I'm going to be the opposite and reinvent myself. So definitely take that on, because it's a cool opportunity for that sort of thing. Be bold. Do you guys tend to feel comfortable speaking up and giving input in class? Just a yes or no. I'd love to know what you think, and if that's an area where you struggle, or if maybe you're the class spokesperson. Set boundaries. Don't be a follower. Remember that, whoever your roommate is, they might have a very different routine than you. They might like to go warm up for class 10 or 15 minutes before it starts. But if you like to be there an hour before, don't wait for your roommate. You know, you have to be your own person, set some boundaries, and remember what you're there to achieve. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. And then even if they're not your roommates, you'll make friends with the other people who show up to class an hour early. Release judgment. If you find yourself constantly judging yourself or other dancers, or like sometimes even teachers, it's likely harming your mindset and the way that you're performing in your classes. Oh, Joy, you usually, yes, you were taught that silence was the most respectful. I know, that's hard. And that's something I've talked about with Shelby Ellsbury. I've worked with her a lot. She dances with Boston Ballet, but I've worked with her a lot on things for the whole dancer. And she's a very outspoken sort of person. And the hard part is that as a student, right? And yes, in class, no one should be like chitter chattering in the back. I agree with that as well. And the respectful thing as well. But as a student, we're so quiet, and it's so ingrained in us that you should be quiet and respectful and not speaking up so much. But as you get to be a professional, choreographers will ask questions and want verbal input. And it's hard when you're first starting out. And even this experience where I was working with this choreographer and I spoke up, or I didn't even speak up, I just did a move, honestly. It was bold in movement, not actually in verbal cues. But as you get a little bit older, you want to be able to use your voice. So start to practice when they ask questions. They're not always rhetorical. You know, ballet teachers don't only ask rhetorical questions. And the more you can get used to speaking up when they're asking questions, the better it can work out for you. You speak up. Yes, silence feels like the best option a lot of the time. But again, I want to empower you all to try and get out of your comfort zone with that a little bit. Yeah, that's good. When you're asked, Grace, that's good. And that's what I mean too, not just speaking out of line or out of context, you know. So with judgment, we judge for many reasons, but often we do it when we don't know a person well yet, or we're not identifying with their belief system or their values, or in dance, it might be a different technique and we just don't get it. Or if that person is somehow threatening how we perceive ourselves, that tends to be actually the biggest reason why we might be judging. For me personally, I know when I often judge for the second or third reasons, but as much as you can ease up on judgment of other people, it's going to free you up to stop judging yourself as well. Usually the judging of yourself, the harsh judging of yourself, is what leads you to have any negative thoughts about other people, because your mind is probably craving a little break from the judgment. So you project it onto other people. Don't judge yourself. When we can learn that our judgments mostly have to do with us, not the people that we judge, the same is true when others judge us. Remember that as well. If you're ever feeling judged by another dancer, it's likely because she's feeling insecure. In most cases, when we judge others in order to feel better about ourselves, it's because of a lack of self-acceptance and self-love, which is hard to cultivate as a dancer when you're constantly supposed to be critiquing yourself and sort of picking out what's wrong. But if you can learn to embrace yourself as you are now, it's really going to help you to move forward, which it sounds a little crazy almost, but it's when you give yourself that positive feeling of support and self-love that you get to be in a less judgmental place, and you're more compassionate of yourself. And really, honestly, that's when you'll start to improve even more quickly. And releasing judgment of other dancers goes right along with that, for sure. Let the feedback from teachers represent a demonstration of support for you, even if it's harsh at times. And yeah, judging yourself is hard, and it's quite common in dance, right? And like I said, it comes a lot from that knowledge that we have to be critiquing and picking things out that are wrong to work on, but it so quickly can fall into this downward spiral. counteract homesickness. If you struggle with this, it can be really rough, and you can be thinking about wanting to go. It's hard as a dancer because, I mean, a lot of the time we start going to summer programs and we start going to other places at a young age. So we tend to get used to that. And we tend to understand too from a young age that likely we will be moving somewhere else to dance professionally. So I think we are aware of the homesickness and knowing that we have to move past it in order to succeed in this career, right? But remember that to counteract the homesickness, you can schedule times to call home, you can write letters, you can pen pal with friends. Yeah, see, Marissa, yeah, homesickness can be the worst. 10 hours away is far, and that's hard. I think I got used to it early because I went to Butler and I'm from New York, so it was a 13-hour drive, but it was worth it as well. I agree. I think scheduling times to call home can be one of the most helpful things. And now that everyone has cell phones, that makes it a little bit easier as well. Dealing with mean teachers. Have any of you dealt with mean teachers in the past? I think most of us have at some point. So one summer when I was away, I think I was 14 or 15, and I was actually put into the highest level, which I didn't really feel, which is probably should have been a sign, but I didn't feel ready for that, probably mentally more than anything else, I guess. And we worked with one teacher who was a big Balanchine ballerina, and she was teaching us all these variations, and it was my first exposure to Balanchine, and I was not trained to move at the speed that those variations required. And it was a major struggle for me. And she came down on me hard. And I think, I mean, homesickness came into play with that because I am pretty sure I called home crying just about every day. But it definitely taught me that you have to be tough in this profession, and some people are going to dislike you or seem to dislike you very strongly. And I didn't give up. That's one good thing. She even threatened to move me down a level, and I honestly was sort of hoping that she would because I didn't want to take her class anymore, but she didn't. So I just pushed through it, and it was hard. But like I said, I think dealing with that sort of thing at 15 helped me to realize that there's going to be times when mean teachers tear you down, and it's up to you to maintain a positive mindset and remind yourself that this one mean teacher is not going to ruin your potential for a career. You just won't ever dance for her, or, you know, she won't hire you. But at the time, she wasn't even working at a company. It was just at a school. So it's good to remember. And yeah, see, mean teachers can be the worst. And it's just a matter of making sure that you can push through it and persist and persevere. You know, I mean, even hearing stories now of dancers like Misty Copeland being told you're never going to make it for X, Y, and Z reasons, and where she's gotten to because of that is really inspiring. So remember those things when you're dealing with these difficult situations. Yeah, teachers yell a lot sometimes. And sometimes they don't like you for any reason. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, and that's the hard part too, is like Caitlin, you say, sometimes they pick on you because they see potential. So don't let it mean, and Joy, with when they seem to dislike you for no reason, I feel like, and this is just because I read a lot about psychology and what makes us think and do certain things, but I feel like a lot of times in that scenario, they probably see something in you that they dislike about themselves, even if it's something that is fixable or something that you can work on. They might have the flaw in themselves that they're recognizing in you. And so then they decide to take it out on you in not such a nice way. But like I said, don't take a lack of positive feedback to mean that they don't like you. Teachers can work with so many different students year round, and even more during the summer. They may be trying to conserve their own energy. That's not so much a mean teacher, but that's more a teacher who might be quiet or just not giving you a lot of positive feedback. And like in Caitlin's example, sometimes the harsh words mean that they see a lot of potential, but maybe they feel like you're not fully living up to it. So that's how they're pushing you. Always take criticism in stride. In all honesty, not everything I've heard from teachers has been worded in a nice way, and they may or may not have been trying to actually be mean. Sometimes they just say things. Sometimes, yes, they're being hard on you just to push you further, for sure. And a ton of corrections is sometimes just because, like you said, Grace, for sure, that they care and they think you're good and they want to see you working hard. I mean, I could list tons of things I've heard from teachers that have been not worded well. And I was taking an open class at Steps one time in New York City, and the teacher told me, "You're pulling back in your hyperextension. That's why your calves are so big." And I was like, what? I mean, we could have cut it off at "you're pulling back in your hyperextension," and then maybe given me some productive way to fix that problem. But the fact that it went to an insult was like, okay, I'm gonna let that go. I refuse to let that ruin my day or months or whatever. As you can imagine, it really hurt my feelings, and it gave me a new body part to like obsess over. But it's an opinion, and he didn't necessarily deliver it in the best way, but it also had absolutely no impact on the trajectory of my dance career. They do sometimes, teachers can take it too far if you're sensitive. And I think a lot of times dancers, because we don't always verbally express, because we are using movement to express our feelings, we can be sensitive beings as well, for sure. Showcase casting. Do you guys tend to be concerned about this? I don't really remember being concerned about it until the one year when I was trying to get into the second company. That was the year that I really thought it mattered, and I was worried about the part I was going to get. So other than that, though, I didn't really think about it too much. But I would say if it is something that you're concerned about, don't let it have a huge impact on your experience. Remember that you're there to be learning, and you are there to be taking in all that you can, and casting in the showcase, even if you're going for the professional training program or you're trying to get a job in the company later on, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get that opportunity. Just continue to show up with positivity, pick up choreography as quickly as you can, and demonstrate your ability to dance well in a corps. Because when you start out in a company, that's usually the skill they're most interested in anyway. Joy, that's great. It's good that you're more focused on your personal goals. Oh, if there's a part you really want, you get nervous, Marissa. Yeah, that's hard. I mean, I always, most dancers have some sort of qualm about dancing in the corps, but I always loved it. And I hear more and more about dancers who really appreciate that team mentality that you get in a corps, which I think is beautiful. Friendships, the dance version of networking. It really is, because the older, even now working with the whole dancer and reaching out to dancers that I have met over the years, it's amazing. It amazes me every single day how very small the dance world is, and how, you know, there's not many degrees of separation between any dancers. So don't make any enemies and don't burn any bridges. You never know where you might be auditioning sometime in the future, and to have someone that you know and someone that you trust. Good, I love dancing core work too. Having someone that you know and someone that you trust, and someone who you can even reach out to later on and say they're dancing with a company that you're going to go audition for, when you can reach out to them and be like, hey, can I stay with you for the night? And they'll show you the dressing room and they'll make you feel more at ease while you're there. That's huge. So make a lot of connections. Let it be networking, you know, like we don't have to deal with that same kind of business. Although when you get into a company and you'll be having different events where you're talking to donors and things like that, networking will also come in handy. But definitely remember that you don't want to make any enemies. There's no reason to. So what exactly is self-care? I mean, I talk about it a lot because I know how very important it is for all people, but especially for dancers. And I think sometimes because, and I've said this before as well, because we have so many things going on in the studio, we have to take care of point shoes, we have to make sure that we have our dance clothes ready, learning choreography, there's just a lot going on. Any busy person knows prioritizing self-care can be really hard, but self-care is really any activity that you do for yourself that's going to help you maintain your physical, mental, or emotional health. It can help you feel healthier, more relaxed, and ready to take on your work and responsibilities, which is why it should be really a big priority for all dancers. So here's some examples of some self-care practices that dancers can practice regularly. I already mentioned smart footwear, but I'll say it again because it really is so very important. Nightly foot soaks. And if you're going to a summer program, even if you're not going to have access to, say, like ice and water and cold water and everything, you can still soak your feet in warm water with lavender. Can be amazing. A little bit of lavender essential oil. And you can bring just a small plastic basin to use. And that can actually, if you get one that's the right size, you can fit it perfectly into your suitcase for sure. And that's a great thing to bring for yourself. A hot towel scrub is which can be either really energizing or it can be calming depending on when you do it. If you do it first thing in the morning, it's going to help wake you up, get you energized, get your blood flowing. So all you do is you take a hot towel, you soak it under some, or well, you take a regular towel, it's not hot yet. You soak it in hot water, squeeze it out, and then you do circular motions all around your skin. Epsom salts, yes, Joy, key. I forgot to mention the Epsom salts, but you do small circular motions with the hot towel all on your entire body, all over. And it's going to help wake you up. And if you do it at night, it's going to help relax you, which is interesting that it's one of those things that kind of can work both ways. Positive mantras, I am a huge fan of because they have a bigger impact than we could ever imagine. And picking, you know, it might be nice for you to just pick one that really resonates with you that you're going to repeat to yourself throughout your summer program. And I say pick one because then it's easy to remember and you can just repeat it anytime you're having a hard time or you need more motivation. Something like, I'm a strong and capable dancer and I'm moving towards my goals each and every day. But you'll repeat that to yourself over and over. Essential oils are a nice thing for dancers to incorporate in self-care because once again, there are going to be some that are energizing and then there are going to be some that are calming. So in the morning, you might use something like a citrus essential oil, wild orange, lemon, grapefruit, or even peppermint is great. And then at night to calm down, you could do lavender, chamomile, or vanilla even. I'm going to switch to myself for a second so that I can show you one of the ways that you can use an essential oil. So this is peppermint, and it doesn't have to be this brand. Whole Foods has all kinds of great essential oils and good brands and things like that. But you can also order them online. So all I do with peppermint, you can either just drink, no, don't drink it like this. You can smell it like this and you get, it's very invigorating. Or you can do a drop on your hand, drop or two, and then you rub them together like this. And that really wakes you up. In case my energy was lagging right now, I just gave myself a boost. But that's peppermint. It's very invigorating. You can use it as mouthwash. There's so many things. Essential oils are great for dancers to learn about because you really can incorporate them in so many ways. And then be your own personal mentor. That is one of my biggest tips for all people. You need to be your own cheerleader because you really can't rely on anyone else to be your cheerleader for you. So, and for your personal mentor, there's an exercise that we do in the Whole Dancer program where you actually invent your personal mentor, and she's basically you, an older, wiser version of yourself. But you give her a whole life story, you bring her to life so that you're able to call on her for support anytime that you can. And it sounds almost silly, but it's one of those, I don't know, woo-woo things that can be super helpful. Yes, Grace, meditation and mindfulness. Foam rolling is amazing. Some of these things is hard when you're traveling for a summer program, but if you can fit your foam roller in, definitely do it. Definitely go for it. Look at this as an opportunity for reinvention, right? I mentioned this one earlier as well. If you're known as quiet or shy in your current dance environment, take this as an opportunity to get out of that box. If you're, your teacher at home might have decided, oh, she's this or he's this, they've given you a distinct characteristic that they think you totally embody, and that's all they'll ever see when they look at you. And, your fellow dancers have seen it now too, and you've potentially even taken on some of those characteristics for yourself, and you're like, oh, I am this, and you're defining yourself by that. But take this opportunity to get out of that box. And if you're always being the more even with the way you dance, say you consider yourself an adagio dancer, you're better slow, right? Take a summer program as an opportunity to push the jumps in an environment where no one has judged you as an adagio dancer. So you're in a new food environment. Stay open and really don't be afraid to ask questions, because likely, you might not know what's in everything, but it's fine to ask. And I think that you should, because if you've heard anything from me about food, I think one of the key points is knowing what's in your food. Sometimes summer programs can be a good time to try a new eating style because you do have different options than maybe what you're used to at home. But keep in mind that any shifts in your food can significantly impact your energy and your body. And for that matter, it might be better to stick to what you know. Play with it, depending on where you are, what age you are. That's going to vary as well. I think if you're a bit younger, you should probably stick to what you know works for you, what you're used to, and what is going to continue to, if you're still growing, allow you to continue to grow and try different eating styles. And then I always think you should bring your own non-perishable snacks. Yes, oatmeal packets have always been a go-to for me as well. Trail mix and Lara bars. As long as you're allowed to have food in your room, bring those things with you. And then if you're ever on a trip and you have an opportunity to get some extra food as well, like fresh fruit or something, take advantage of those opportunities too. Lara bars are a good go-to snack. Mostly, they're one of those bars that has the fewest ingredients. So that's why it's something that I tend to recommend. Prioritize hydration. Bring a water bottle that you love. Don't lose it. That's always the struggle, but it will inspire you to drink a lot. Bioindividuality is a concept that I talk about a lot with food. It's just the idea that what works for some people is not going to work for someone else, and we're all different, so our needs are all going to be different, and that applies to hydration as well. On average, men need 13 cups of water and women need 9, but you have to consider various lifestyle factors, and the fact that you're dancing all day is going to impact that need. And then also how much you personally sweat, because it's definitely different for all of us, is going to impact how much water you're losing and your need to replenish it. But remember that in addition to water, the water that you're actually drinking, green leafy vegetables and fresh fruits are amazing sources of hydration for your body as well. The allergy thing, I didn't even think of that because it wasn't such an issue when I was attending summer programs, but I get it. I'm sorry. That stinks that you can't always bring nuts to summer programs. A new morning routine. So depending on what you do at home, if you're still in school, in high school or something, you've got clearly a very different morning routine when you're home than what you might be able to practice when you are at a summer program. But some things that can really help to have an awesome morning when you're going to be dancing the whole day is wake up to the light. If you can leave the blinds open, or just go outside and expose yourself to light for like 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes after you wake up, that's going to really jolt you into getting your body moving. Meditate, taking slow, deep cleansing breaths is going to help you. And also repeating that mantra or a positive word or phrase. If your mind starts to wander while you're trying to take this quiet meditation time, you can come back to the mantra. But that's going to really help you to ease stress and feel what's sore in your body that day. And then you can focus on your breath while doing some stretches. Back bending is really invigorating and can wake you up. Of course, make sure that you're warm for that, but I trust that dancers know their bodies well enough to know when they can do a back bend. And then strengthening poses. Planks first thing in the morning can jolt you into waking. And Marissa, reading outside in the mornings is lovely. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things you can do for yourself too, is if you have some kind of inspiring book, whether it's dance related or otherwise, maybe something that just gives you, sets you into a positive mindset, that can be a really great way to start off your morning. Breakfast, definitely. Starting your day with the right food nutritionally is going to make you sharper and more productive by giving your brain a steady supply of its preferred fuel, which is glucose. And, you have to remember your body has been in an all-night fast. So it's important to wake it up and give your brain, heart, and muscles the nutrients that they need to feel great. Eating breakfast can improve memory, concentration, problem-solving ability, and mood. So there have been recent studies that have said, maybe you don't need breakfast, or maybe it's not that important, but I think the impact it has on your mood and your concentration are big for dancers. So I still think for dancers, breakfast is a pretty key need. Oh, a cold shower. I love this as a great way to wake up. And especially in the summer when most likely you're going to be somewhere hot, it's going to increase your alertness. You're going to breathe more deeply because of your body's shock response from being in cold water. So it just gives you a natural dose of energy for your day. Not to mention, it's good for your hair, it's good for your skin, immunity, circulation. It can help muscle soreness and recovery, which is really awesome. And it can ease stress. So once again, if you're feeling stressed out at your summer program, or you just want to start your day off feeling really stress-free, start it with a cold shower. Honor your personal preferences. I mentioned earlier with roommates and the friendships that you make at summer programs and how they can really impact the whole of your career. But you and your roommate may or may not have a lot in common when it comes to how you like to get ready or prepare for class or spend your time outside of class. But, always be respectful to them and expect that respect in return. Take care of yourself and honor your personal preferences. Don't feel like you need to accommodate anyone else's ideas or what they want to do. You have to take care of your body first and foremost and make sure that you're keeping that as a top priority. Strategic conversation. So I'll never forget reading the story that Sarah Mearns, who was a principal dancer with New York City Ballet, actually was not asked to stay year-round at School of American Ballet. She asked them after, I think she said, I don't know, I think she had been going there for a few summers already, and they weren't asking her to stay. So she decided to just ask if she could. And we all know how that turned out, So I think it's important to be open to initiating conversations about year-round programs or second company opportunities with artistic staff if it's not coming your way. Even if it's just to get an assessment and to get the facts about what they think your future could be with that company, or if they don't see you there. And you can find out for what reasons. And then you can even ask them where they think you might fit in. These are scary conversations to have because obviously you don't want to hear anything bad, but they can be really, really helpful. Caitlin asked, do you think it's good to request roommates or meet someone new? I think it's good to meet someone new. If you have a friend who's going to be there, you'll always be able to have her as, a safety net. But I think that it's a big part of life. I mean, if you're going to go to college, I went to college, so I dealt with it then. And I think having had the experience of having new roommates at summer intensives helped me to, not think that was any kind of a big deal. Plus, when you get into a company, sometimes you have to sort of find a roommate from the company dancers a little bit randomly. So it's good to have that experience of just getting along with somebody random. So how do you use your voice? Like I said, in talking to teachers, talking to artistic staff, and even to other dancers to hear about the companies where they train year-round. It's important to ask those questions and say, of course, keep in mind when you're talking to other dancers that they're going to have opinions that are sometimes biased, because if they've been training at one school for their whole life, they're going to have preconceived notions. And if they don't see themselves dancing there professionally, they might have negative opinions about it. So take it with a grain of salt, but definitely use your voice, talk to your teachers about your future, ask big questions. Doesn't have to be all surface kind of stuff. You can get deep with them and you can ask, where they think you might be a good fit, because that information can be invaluable when you're starting to audition and you're moving into your professional career. And even talking to them is going to help you resonate with them. So even if at this point, they're just a teacher somewhere, it doesn't mean that in a few years when you're looking for a new job, they might have become the artistic director with the ballet company, and they'll remember you because you put in the time not just dancing for them or in their class, but also talking to them and getting to know them. This is hard, and I never did this when I was young, I'll be honest, but I wish I had, which is why I'm trying to inspire that for you all, because I think that it can be a game changer in this career, for sure. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's my inspiration for you to actually give this a try, because it's a practice and it gets easier to talk to people who you might find intimidating the more you put yourself out there and just do it. And it's going to impact outside experiences as well. After you're done dancing, you might end up in a corporate job or somewhere else, where having this skill of being able to initiate a conversation and start talking is going to be really helpful. And yeah, Caitlin, I agree with Grace. I think a good time to approach teachers is going to be after class. If they might be running somewhere else to teach somewhere else, but at a summer program, likely they might have a bit of time, even if it's just 15 minutes. And most teachers are there to help you. You'll get a warmer obviously we talked about this already, you'll get a warmer feeling from some teachers than from others, and that's fine. And, but it doesn't hurt to try and say, hey, I am going to be auditioning for companies soon, or, in the next year or so. And I'm just wondering if you can give me any advice about where might be good for me to try. And teachers have learned a lot, and people who have been in the dance world for a long time have learned so much about it that they likely have input. But like I said, too, take it all with a grain of salt, because there's also a lot that's going to be based on opinion. If you're going to a summer program in a big city or even one in a smaller town, I didn't go to Kotzbahn, but I was an RA there. So, we found ways to have fun and like even just go out in the town and stuff. Once again, smart footwear. I say it 3 times in this webinar. Maybe that's excessive, but hopefully you're getting the point. Smart footwear outside of class is so important, and flip-flops are not supportive footwear. You need to make sure you're wearing something that has arch support. My boyfriend is very into clogs right now, and actually I was looking at some of the sandal clogs. Not that I'm really into clogs, but the arch support is amazing on them. They feel great, so keep that in mind. Give your body a break and make sure, if you're allowed to explore the city on your own, do it. But, you don't want to be doing it all day, every day that you're not dancing, because obviously walking around for hours can create problems for you in the studio. You have to remember, just like you would as a professional, that your body needs to be really well taken care of. And especially if the summer program is somewhere where you're dancing a lot more than normal, make sure that you are taking care of your body. Have fun. That's like the most important thing. And some positive psychology exercises you might bring into summer programs with you. One is the 3 blessings, which is an idea where hi Chelsea, no worries, you'll be able to watch from the beginning whenever you can. But 3 blessings is if you're having a rough day, right, and like you feel like nothing is going right, at the end of the day, or sometimes, I do this first thing in the morning too, you write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And since this is in the realm of summer programs and that's what we're focusing on, make sure that you give yourself some props for what you're good at as a dancer, and give yourself a little pat on the back for something as a dancer. And use your signature strengths in new ways. So these are 24 things that could be your signature strengths, and pick out 2 or 3 that you think really are things you're able to bring to the table. For me, I would say, let's see, kindness, maybe persistence. That's good for dancers. So I hope that's one of your signature strengths, but it might not be. But love of learning, that's a great one. So what are your signature strengths, guys? I'd love to know. And recognizing these things in yourself is beautiful. And it's not conceited or anything to say, I'm kind, or I'm open-minded, it's very good.